Gary Lodeholt. This coming Wednesday, April 22nd, is Earth Day. And I learned recently that that is the largest secular holiday over the entire world. And it points us to the fact that care of creation is an important biblical theme. We probably don't talk about that enough. It's a theme that's pretty easy for us to ignore, but it is important in the Bible. So this week, we're going to look at some hymns and psalms that lift this up. So today, as we begin this theme, we're going to look at Psalm 8. Psalm 8 says, O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. Out of the mouths of babes and infants, you have founded a bulwark because of your foes, to silence the enemy and the avenger. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established, what are human beings that you are mindful of them, mortals that you care for them? Yet you have made them a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honor. You have given them dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under their feet, all sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and the fish of the sea, whatever passes along the paths of the sea. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Now, you might have noticed that verse 1 and verse 9 of that psalm are repeated. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Those verses speak very clearly of our human status and that our dominion of creation is only understood within the context of God's sovereign reign over us. All creatures in this psalm, all creatures, even babies, praise God and is in fact created and made to praise God. Trees, birds, fish, animals, everything in creation is meant to praise God. The very middle of the psalm is the key, verses 3 and 4. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established, what are human beings that you are mindful of them, mortals that you care for them? And those verses ask just a very simple question. How can God, who is running the whole cosmos, be concerned about us? How can God, so marvelous and grand, be concerned about each of us as individuals, as part of his creation? What an amazing God we have. This psalm leaves us with some questions, however. If we are created in the image of God, what does that mean to be the image of God? Another question. In Genesis, you know that when God creates us, we are placed in the garden in order to tend and keep it. Now, why does God choose to share power with us? God gives us power over creation in many ways. Why is it that God chooses to share that, and what does that mean? And then the final question is, in Genesis, God gives us dominion over creation. And in our world, we need to ask, what's the difference between dominion and domination? This is one of my favorite psalms for something you might not know. Back with Apollo 11, 73 nations were invited to put a message on the part of the lunar lander that was going to remain on the moon in case it should ever be found by some sort of alien civilization. And one of those nations that was invited to do this was, in fact, the Vatican. And what the Vatican sent as their message of greeting to anyone who might find this uh, uh, remains of the lunar lander was the text of Psalm 8. It's a psalm of praise to God that speaks of the sovereignty of God and of our human vocation here on earth. It's an important psalm. I suggest maybe later today, get it out, read it again. Think about our questions. Think about the way we treat our earth.